Alright, so Spark Ignites is this pixel RPG that takes heavy inspiration from Octopath Traveler, both in how it looks and how the combat works. The game is set in a medieval fantasy world where supposedly every 100 years the Star God grants one wish to someone, and the whole game kicks off around two orphan brothers trying to survive, and eventually getting caught up in something way bigger than stealing bread. The game stands out mostly because of its visual presentation. It uses this 2.5D pixel art style, with modern lighting effects, that actually looks pretty impressive, and the camera work during cutscenes is surprisingly cinematic. For a pixel game, the game's story starts with this heavy opening, where you witness King Leonhard getting betrayed and murdered by his own captain during a war. Then the game jumps 10 years forward to follow Ash and Clover, two orphan kids who get thrown in jail for stealing food. They eventually end up joining this thief group called the Night Owls, who steal from nobles to help poor people. The game's translation has these moments throughout, where modern corporate language just appears randomly and completely kills the setting. This is most likely due to the underwhelming translation. For example, Hank is talking about thinking worth seniors and investing in your core edge, when he's supposed to be a medieval thief boss. As for the actual combat, it's turn-based and works similarly to Octopath, where you have a front row and back row. The melee attacks can only hit the front row, unless you position differently, and the ranged attacks can hit anywhere. Each character uses AP to perform skills, though the AP system is honestly confusing at first, because the game doesn't explain it well. You start each battle with some AP, and you are supposed to gain more by killing enemies or using certain abilities, but it's not always clear what triggers it. Characters also have these things called resonances, which are basically passive abilities that trigger during combat. Things like dealing extra damage, or getting defensive buffs at the start of battle. You unlock new skills just by fighting battles. You also find equipment and can craft items using materials you collect. And there is a forging system at certain camps, where you can make weapons and armor if you have the recipes. Their progression feels a bit weird at first, because you're just doing the same basic attacks for a while, before anything new happens. Your party grows as you meet more characters. For example, Borg is the first tank character, Keller is the lockpick guy, and Theodore is more of a scholar type. Each character of course also has their own combat style. The formation system lets you protect squishier characters, which is important because some enemies hit pretty hard. Without spoiling anything, the story takes a rather dark turn pretty quickly. There's a whole subplot about beasts that are normally locked away in the north, suddenly showing up and attacking people, and this ties into the larger mystery about what's really going on with the Star God's blessing. The game clearly wants to set up multiple story paths. Now as for the issues, that translation, as I have mentioned, really needs work. Beyond the weird business terminology, sentences often don't flow right or make complete sense. The user interface has problems too, like ability names getting cut off and tutorial pop-ups that appear too briefly. The combat tutorial in particular rushes through important information about AP and resonances without proper explanation. There are also bugs where the music doesn't change when it should, and in general there seem to be many sound effects missing. But please keep in mind this can change when the game actually launches. The progression feels slow and unclear early on. Once you figure it out, there is actual depth to the combat, but getting there takes patience. Despite the rough edges, the potential is there. The developer plans to keep it in early access for 6 to 12 months, which makes sense given how much polish it needs. And this sentence concludes today's video. If your time was respected, a like or comment is very much appreciated.